Welcome to American Education FM, everybody. I'm Dr. Sean Brooks. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm not even going to introduce this. I just have a great deal to cover here. A lot of things to hit out of the park, and I want to start with this. Just geopolitically speaking, I received an email from a listener of the show, and it was a great email. Again, thought-provoking, no doubt about it. And what I want to do here is I just want to read this right off the top, and then just kind of comment on a few things and make basically vocal a few observations that I've made here over the past weekend. But here's what they said. They said the following, quote, Episode 658, you were talking about a post you read presumably on 4chan about how the system is using migrants to silently train them as their enforcers by selectively letting them get away with certain crimes. This reminded me of an old post on 4chan that I kept a screenshot of. They said, if I may quote from it, the post is from a man who said his family came from the USSR. It says, quote, right now, Jews are marginalizing non-whites and training them to engage in ideological and economic terror against whites. When they have no more status of whites to destroy, they'll come for whites themselves. And the current ideological terrorism will soon turn into physical terrorism. Shutting down local police is entirely in line with this. Jews don't want unions interfering with their operations. Jews want a single police force, like a Cheka or NKVD, trained in their ideology to carry out their terror. Unquote. And then he goes on in the email, and again, I completely agree with that, no doubt about it. And they use, of course, multiple different kinds of individuals to carry out whatever mission that they seek to carry out. They have no problem using individuals. But he said in the email, he says more, and I can send you a screenshot if you'd like, but I'd like to segue that idea into the Trump assassination attempts. Now, I know you're somewhat of a Q guy, and that's fine, as optimism is always nice. They went on and said, I'm always leaning toward what the Jew wants and what the Jew stacks deck-wise in order to achieve what he wants. He said, if we know the Jews' endgame, then it becomes clear what steps need to be taken in order to get there. 9/11 is a fine example. Jews want the guns out of the hands of white Americans. We know this. I wonder if you could explore the idea of these Trump assassination attempts being a Jew op. Work with me for a second here. And they have 4 points. They said, number 1, everyone gets worried their top guy Trump is in danger after failed attempts. 2, Trump wins election. Starts inserting gun control talk into rally speeches. 3, Trump gets shot in the shoulder or something after 6 months in office. 4, Trump says, quote, we definitely need tighter gun control now. Look at what they've done to me, blah, blah, unquote. He went on to say, you get the point. The only way you get the Republican side on agreeing for gun confiscation, which the Democrats are already on board with, is to have their top boy Trump come out and say it while playing the victim. To the power Jew, I view this as their last card to play to grab guns, they said, as time is running out for them as a whole. If Trump can get 25% of the Republican base to sympathize with him, after really being shot, quote unquote, Second Amendment is toast. Bump stocks and I believe red flag laws have already happened under him in 16 through 20. So this is not a far-fetched idea. And then the Brown Horde will already be in place as the NKVD. I mean, there is a fucking reason that they are all men who are here. It kind of all fits. Very Jewy. In fact, I view these attempts as absolutely certain that Don will win in November because I know the steps Goldberg-Steinowitz Incorporated takes to achieve their goals. This is, of course, the shitbag who still takes credit for the vaccine rollout being a great thing. I could argue that if Hillary had been in, a lot more conservatives never would have taken the Jew clot shot, but since it was greenlit by Trump, well, whites as a whole have lost, and it's very sad. Don't deny the possibility that this was the plan of the power Jew all along. Just a thought, man. Think about it, process it, and maybe talk about it. Sorry, I know you like this guy, but he's a race traitor and Jew pawn who still can't publicly say white people, quote unquote. but has no problem with Hispanic community, quote unquote, and lowest black employment, quote unquote, even after pandering nothing but Jews and nogs, he says, on the way out of the door in 20. The evidence is overwhelming, unquote. Okay. Again, I understand the take. I fully get it. I responded, and I essentially said, look, I mean, there are things that Donald Trump says that I wonder why he's saying them. And I fully understand, again, that he's catering to individuals who have never voted for him before, and certain fractions of America that have never voted for him, geographic areas, races, you name it. I mean, I fully understand that. I don't like it either when he basically mentions every other race, but not white people. I don't like that either. He's not showing up at some all-white college and giving a speech. He's not even saying the word white. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound good. But let me go through some of these points here. Again, specifically regarding, well, I'll start off with a Q point that they made at the beginning. I've been over this before, and again, there's ample evidence that this is the case, and it's not just in Q posts, it's also in, again, the language that these people use, because, again, they're not hiding their language anymore. The plan of Hillary Clinton got into office was to destroy this country in a matter of just 8 years. Obama was the first 8. Hillary was going to be the next 8. And they were just going to, again, do what they did during Biden's administration, if that's to even be believed, where they were again going after individuals who were telling the truth. But then, of course, they were going to manufacture an illness, which wasn't going to be real. And then, of course, given the fact that they kind of already did it, back when Anthony Fauci was going door to door with the mayor of Washington, D.C., people may recall that, knocking on doors and saying, have you had your vaccination yet? I mean, the simple fact that happened, and that was allowed, and that they thought that was a good idea, that should tell people that their next move was to do that with the military, and have the military show up door to door and jab people. So with all of that aside, the Q operation, again, woke up endless people across the entire world. It motivated people. It got people off of the couch, not sitting on it, and getting out there and mobilizing. I mean, again, you may recall all of the French protests in France. Now, I'm not saying, again, that there aren't ebbs and flows in war. There certainly are. Sometimes the people get pissed, and they get out there and they dump manure all over Parliament. And then other times they don't. It's not like it's a constant thing. But the mass movement that you've seen worldwide and that we've all seen worldwide is not an accident. That all stemmed from that Q operation and the education that was taking place throughout those posts in real time. Now, here's the other reason that you can take those Q posts seriously, certainly just from again, face value educational opportunity, basically. Who is it that criticizes those posts and has criticized those posts or doesn't even reference them? Because it's two heads of the same snake. It's actually not Donald Trump. He's made direct references to Q posts. He's retruthed these on his own Truth Social page with regularity. But the two groups that are two heads of the same snake are the liberal media, which we know is run by Jews. We're fully aware of that. But also the so-called conservative alternative media, if you want to call them that. They also criticized those posts, and they didn't even bring them up. And if they did, again, it was only to criticize them. I heard Alex Jones and Jay Dyer do it just the other day. Same thing. They can't not criticize it because they don't want people learning on their own. They don't want a free, independent mind. They want everybody, to listen to their shows. They want everybody tuning into them. And what's interesting, of course, is that, take, again, Alex Jones's show, for example. He has other hosts that work with him and around him on that platform. And some of them name the Jew. Some of them don't. But all roads point in that direction. And those Q posts did too, which is why, again, you talk about a very odd negative psychological operation to actually have. Because if it were a negative psychological operation, why would the Jews want more attention on themselves? Why would the Khazarian Mafia and satanic ones want more attention on themselves? There are endless satanic posts in those Q drops. Everything from fetal body parts to celebrities to you name it. This was something that a lot of people were unaware of. They just were, and they were not aware of the severity of it, and then the connections with all of these people, and then the money and the influence, and so on and so on. But as everybody always says, follow the money. Well, where does that money trail end? We know where it ends. It ends with the bankers, the money lenders. It ends with the Jewish lobby, because they're the ones that have all the cash. They're the ones that run the banking system. And then, of course, they pay whoever it is that they pay, and they get away with whatever it is that they get away with. Now, regarding the Trump assassination, or assassination attempt, there are numerous anomalies in it. I don't think there's any doubting that. Is it or was it fake? That's anyone's guess. People apparently did get shot. A man apparently did lose his life. I still find it odd that they misspelled his name on the back of this firefighter uniform, and then had that firefighter uniform on stage at the RNC. I mean, again, do you misspell someone's name that you're putting on a grandstand and a grand stage, rather, right next to the president, and make that mistake on purpose? Or, I mean, was that typo an accident? I don't know. It seems odd. But there are certainly people who want him dead. There are endless people who want to see him get killed. And we know, again, who these people are. We also know that, unfortunately, the Jewish lobby plays both sides all of the time. And I think, again, the fact that we know that, and that consciousness level has reached a particular angle here where we're fully aware that that's the case. I mean, they don't really care who's in office because they're always looking for a profit. That's about it. I mean, they're business-minded, but it's bad business because, again, if they worship Satan, it doesn't matter if these individuals are seeking to make money all the way to their demise. They still want to make money all the way to their demise, even if they know that their demise is inevitable. And their influence and losing their influence is inevitable. They almost don't even care. They just want to watch everything burn and make $1 on the way. And that's not quote-unquote racist. That's a long history of historic fact. I mean, that's a real thing. But again, there's a lot of moving parts here. And again, like I said earlier, there are things that Donald Trump says that I don't necessarily agree with, but I also know that there are things that he says that he has kept his promises to. Now, again, regarding even the gun control stuff, I don't see him looking to take guns away. I don't see that. States, unfortunately, aren't abiding by the Constitution when it says, of course, in the Second Amendment, shall not be infringed. Numerous states have, of course, moved in opposite directions, and they have quote-unquote constitutional carry. This is the way that it should be. An individual should be able to carry a gun from one state to the next without being impeded. You shouldn't have to pull over in a border state from California and then put your gun away and store it 7 different ways before you even cross the border into California. It's beyond absurd. Not to mention, it's one of the most dangerous states when it comes to crime. So, I don't see that happening. I do see the individuals who are bought and paid off, like the Dan Crenshaws of the world, rather, who love red flag laws and want people to lose their guns. And again, I've openly spoken about, the Ethan Crumbley case, and then, of course, the Georgia case most recently. These cases are abominations. They're absolute abominations, and that is being repeated. Again, if you want to see who your enemy is sometimes, just pay attention to who doesn't bring those cases up. But then again, that has to do with state-level corruption. I didn't hear Marjorie Taylor Greene screaming at the top of her lungs about how unconstitutional that was. That why did they lock up the dad? Why is the dad still in jail? It makes no sense. But again, I know that they're coming after white people. I'm well aware. They could have done that with any black teenager who's broken the law before and just happened to be in possession of a gun. And then track down parent or parents, and then all of a sudden they're in jail. But I know that they've never done that. Yeah. It's a two-tier justice system or a multi-tier justice system, and of course we are at the bottom. And it's unfortunate. Now, with all of that said, let me mention this. Over the weekend, Donald Trump gave a couple of speeches that I thought were kind of interesting. He, of course, gave a speech with the Star of Remphan behind him. That satanic flag. Some people call it the Star of David, but of course it isn't. And and he was in a room that was, I assume, predominantly Jews, and he was mentioning a number of different things. I will tell you this, having watched enough clips of it, the man's demeanor when he's talking to them is not the same as when, for example, he's talking to the crowd in Wilmington, North Carolina. It's a completely different demeanor. I've watched enough of his speeches over again since 2015 to know when the guy doesn't like the room he's in. I mean, it's evident he didn't want to be there. Now, I know people would say, well, he's being paid to be there because of, what is it, Adelstein or whatever the hell her name is, who apparently donated $100 million to his campaign. Okay, that's possible. But at the exact same time, in that same speech, he made two comments that I thought were interesting. And I'm going to put together a Substack about this first one. He again brought up the business of how on day one at noon, he's going to do something regarding an executive order having to do with anti-Semitic rhetoric and this, that, and the other, that you're not going to be able to criticize Jews or whatever. It's unconstitutional. There would have to be an amendment to the Constitution to revise the First Amendment to basically say everyone has freedom of speech, freedom of expression, blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, but none of this is relevant if you criticize Jews. So, again, it's it's totally unconstitutional. And unfortunately, this war on free speech is happening at the local level. I've brought it up very specifically, ironically enough, in my last Substack article, which I highly recommend people read. And it's free, of course. But I recommend that people read it because that right there should show people that school boards themselves are interested in stifling free speech and censoring people. It happens at such a small local level rather than at the federal level. Again, it's the Star Wars trash compactor. We're being bombarded from two separate angles. I don't like the fact that he said it. I mean, again, I don't like that he said it. But then he also said this. He said he's going to roll back interest rates on credit cards. And there was no applause in that room. So he got a round of applause, big round of applause when he was talking about cracking down on quote-unquote anti-Semitism, which isn't even a real thing. But when he mentioned rolling back interest rates on credit cards, it was crickets. Why? Because Jews don't like that. They run the banking system. They don't want to hear that. They hate it. Every single time he says, no tax on fill in the blank. No tax on overtime. You can hear them screaming a mile away. No tax on tips. You can hear them screaming a mile away. And then in Wilmington, he said this. He actually said, he brought up the word usury. He went down the no tax list that he openly said, no tax on this, no tax on this, no tax on Social Security, no tax on this, no tax on this. And then he brought up usury. And he said, usury laws. He said, it's actually illegal. In fact, I'll play the audio right now. Here's what he said in Wilmington, North Carolina in 3, 2, 1.
We will have no tax on tips. We will have no tax on overtime. And no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors. No tax. And it makes sense because the seniors have been hurt so badly with inflation. So we're going to have no tax on Social Security for our seniors. And while working Americans catch up, we're going to put a temporary cap on interest rates on credit card debt at 10%. Some people are paying 25 and 30%. It's crazy. You know, in theory, that's against the law. Okay, called the usury laws. But in theory, that's against, so we're going to cap it for a period of time at 10%.
Now, again, I don't like the fact that he said temporary. I mean, you know, words do matter here when we're picking apart what people say and what we think that they mean. And of course, time will tell if any of this takes place, but I don't like the fact that he used the word temporary. However, when was the last time you heard a president of the United States use the word usury? I've never heard anybody say it. Maybe Richard Nixon in old Nixon tapes. You know, those undercover Nixon tapes of him having conversations with people. I mean, that's probably the last time. Never heard a politician bring up usury. Not ever. James Trafficant, maybe. An old Ohio representative who unfortunately went to jail and then ended up dying. Because, again, he named the Jew and brought up usury and debt and AIPAC and the whole thing. But again, time is going to tell on this one. And it's not that we just have to sit around and just watch it all happen as the walls, you know, come down on top of us. We just have to hold these people to account the best that we can. But one of those ways, of course, is by paying attention to who's saying what and then who is not saying particular things also. So again, Thomas Massey's brought it up, and you just heard Donald Trump bring it up. But like I said, I don't like the word temporary, but even so, if he puts it in and it remains, then what does that mean as far as the public is concerned? Is the public going to want it to go back to the way that it is now? Of course not. But once it's temporary, temporary can become permanent. Again, I fully understand that there are numerous things that have to happen here in order for the chains of blackmail and 1,000 other things to be removed from these individuals running for office. I mean, AIPAC has got to go. They have to register as a foreign agent, so does Israel and whatever else. Again, this should go without saying. But as long as those things are in place, and as long as the individuals in office remain in so-called office, we all know that they're blackmailed. Again, just to pick on them just for a second, again, very quickly. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert, rather. These two gals are blackmailed. That's why they got to where they got. They were associated with an Israeli talent agency. Again, seems like treason to some extent. You have a foreign country, that is a foreign country, of course, operating over here, and then rounding up females who are willing to, again, dress with not a whole lot of clothes on, take pictures, and then push their images out there on the internet, and then, of course, work their way into office. There isn't anything about either one of them that is organic, but that's generally the same. I mean, that's generally the way that it works with almost all of these people. I mean, Thomas Massey's one of the individuals, again, who is beyond authentic and certainly seems to be. Not to mention, if I can digress here just for another moment, I mean, the man lost his wife. This guy has nothing to lose. He's broken. He's completely broken. He's telling the truth when he walks up to the lectern in the halls of Congress all of the time. And frankly, he wasn't afraid to take a stand even before he lost his wife. I mean, he seems like a very, very intelligent and a very good man. I'd like to see him, frankly, in a Trump administration. Of course, that's when, again, you would hear the Jewish lobby screaming at the top of their lungs. Why would he surround himself with an anti-Semite like Thomas Massey? I mean, it's predictable. But again, making these people irrelevant and making the moneylenders and the lobby irrelevant, unfortunately, it could be done overnight, but it's not being done. It's just not being done overnight. And I certainly hope, again, We can hope in one hand and shit in the other and see which one fills up first. But my hope is that something changes, and certainly if it changes at the top, it'll have a reverberation all the way down to the very local level, which is a great thing. But I don't know what's, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I have no flipping idea. What I do know is that there are more awake people today than ever before. And of course, when people wake up, they don't go back to sleep. It becomes a permanent way of life. It becomes a permanent way of thinking. I feel sad for the people who are not awake. I feel bad for them. I truly do. And as you've heard me say, I'm not sure that it's a survivable characteristic anymore. There was a time when, we could just sort of wander through life aimlessly, I guess, and not be aware of everything, but there's too much happening now, and it's far too dangerous to not want to consistently learn and ask questions. So, yeah, it's kind of my take on the whole thing, but if the Q operation was a negative psychological operation as opposed to a positive psychological operation, then I would say that it was the worst negative psychological operation in the history of psychological operations. Because all it did was educate people. All it did was wake people up. And people continue to reference those posts, as I do from time to time too, because the timing is remarkably interesting. And again, if the military is being used behind the scenes to carry out particular things, well, that's a good thing. Again, the Sean Combs arrest and the Sean Combs stuff, I don't think this is accidental, and I don't think it's a distraction. I mean, I've actually heard people suggest that well, he just got arrested because it's designed to distract people from this, that, or the other. Why? We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can juggle and spin a plate at the same time. It's not difficult to do. We can manage lots of different subjects and analyze lots of different things regarding a number of different topics. And again, pulling his card certainly seems like the blackmail lever regarding him and the people around him has been stopped and broken now. And there were a lot of people that he was wrapped up with. I mean, he was wrapped up with police departments. He was blackmailing full-blown police departments. He was throwing women at cops and detectives and sergeants and you name it, whole precincts, and then probably taping them or just paying them off for one reason or another. Again, drug running or running kids or adrenochrome or, prostitutes, whatever it may be. But it seems like that lever got pulled. And it seems like his lever got broken. And the people who were, again, well aware of what he was doing, like all of that just went away. So at the end of the day, good people have to do the right thing to very bad people. And the more good people there are wanting to do the right thing to very bad people, I suppose the laws of math or physics or what have you would indicate that the bad people will lose eventually. It's not that they're going to go down without a fight, and it's not that they're going to, not take people with them on their way out. But good things have to happen, and good people have to do the right thing to bad people. So there you have it. Okay. Let me mention this. Again, speaking of bad people doing bad things to potentially good people or not, who knows? Clearly the pager explosions and all of that is without a doubt Mossad and without a doubt Jewish. Anybody saying otherwise has lost their flippin' mind. It's pretty clear. But again, this right here continues to show the hypocrisy. All things will be revealed. People are learning. Again, they're opening up their mouths, they're screaming and they're shouting and they're shrieking and they're saying that they support such a thing. Hell, Israel bombed a school the other day. I put the video in the war video. They blew kids to pieces. They blew them right out of their shoes, with their feet and ankles still inside of the shoe. No one can support this. No one. It's disgusting. But like any trap, and I do believe there is a trap element to this, just like any trap, and it's certainly a heavenly dimension here making all of this happen. that when such an event occurs, the worst of the worst will open up their mouths. And they cannot stay quiet. And if they do stay quiet, maybe there's a little bit of self-reflection going on, and they're starting to say to themselves, wait a minute, maybe I've been supporting the wrong thing this whole time. That's possible. I mean, hell, we have in Oxford, Ohio, we have a city council and a mayor who still have a quote-unquote pen pal town in Ukraine. A sister city, they call it. See, if I was the mayor and on city council and we had the majority, I'd get rid of that on day one. These people have no idea where that money is going, that they're donating to them. It's probably to child trafficking. It's probably to kidnap girls and throw them to the front lines and get their heads blown off. Or they're just stealing the money. But these people, I mean, again, these do-gooders, they have no idea what they're actually doing. It's disgusting. But, they're the lowest common denominator. They're not bright people. So who knows? Hopefully there's some self-reflection when it comes to stuff like this, but the pager thing was gross. Just disgusting. Let me shift gears slightly here, even though, of course, this is still related to Springfield and the invasion and 1,000 other things. And this right here, again, is a perfect example of a bad choice of words. I mean a really bad choice of words. For some reason, but again, this should show people how the brainwashing actually works. And it really is effective, in particular in this fog of war here. Vivek Ramaswamy went to Springfield, Ohio, and held some kind of a town hall. And he's standing in the middle of this room, and people are coming up and asking him questions and 1,000 other things. Now, get comfortable here because I'm going to rail on him pretty good. And I'm going to rail on this kind of behavior and how this is not productive in the slightest. First of all, I'll mention what this woman said, and then I'll sort of get into the bigger picture. A woman came up to the microphone and she said that her daughter was being chased down the road by a Haitian or a brown or someone, clearly not a white man who lives in America, legally anyway, with a machete. Chasing after her with a machete. Vivek looks at her and goes, wow, that's terrible. And then he says, by the way, my book is coming out soon and I have a new show on Fox. That's also coming out in September, at the end of September. I couldn't believe my ears. I said, this mother, for some reason, is looking, first of all, to Vivek Ramaswamy, of all people, to give her some answer or some relief as to what's going to happen. She might as well be talking to a bag of sand. He can't do anything. And people apparently don't even know his pharmaceutical history and the fact that he grifted off of Pfizer and helped them grift and then made some kickbacks with, I believe, his mother, became a millionaire, sold the stock that was worthless by the time that it was all said and done, and he made out like a bank robber. So my 2 cents here on Springfield and the citizens of Springfield is that in such a meeting like that, number one, don't go, because Vivek Ramaswamy can't do anything for you. And number two, why in the hell wasn't there one person in that room to stand up and start yelling at Vivek Ramaswamy to get the hell out of Springfield, Ohio? Because again, he can't do anything. But this is, this is the brainwashing. These citizens of that town are over-flippin'-whelmed. They're overwhelmed. They don't know what to do. And as you heard Dr. Robin McCutcheon said, perhaps there needs to be a little history lesson there when it comes to taking back your town. And maybe they should take it back by force. And maybe if somebody has to get killed in the process or they end up losing their lives trying to take back their town, perhaps so be it. Because these people have no problem being uncomfortable in their positions. They're psychos. The city council, mayor, all the people they've bought, all the people they've sold, the people they've blackmailed, whatever it is. I don't think they're very smart on blackmailing. But either way, they're corrupt. And you have to assume the police departments are as well. But this is the state of affairs across our entire country. And again, I just don't understand why at least one person didn't stand up in the middle of that town hall and give Vivek Ramaswamy absolute hell and say something like, you don't live here, you're not a politician, you're not an elected official, you're literally no one. As a result of that, and the fact again that you don't live here, you can't do anything for us. So stop trying to sell your book and your show, get on your bus, and fucking beat it. But again, no one did that. You look at these people's faces and they're all sitting there like, Vivek Ramaswamy, please help us. You've got to be kidding me. Help yourselves. Help yourselves. Do you see what they're doing and what they've done in Ireland? They've burnt down migrant houses. I'm not advocating for people to break the law, but, I mean, hello? Take your town back. Do something. Well, if we just read Vivek Ramaswamy's book and we tune into his show, well, the right things will happen. These evil people don't care about a book or a TV show. They don't give a damn about exposure, per se. So you either remove yourself from said institution, and your lack of participation will make things go away, although with a city council, that's a bit hard. So what you do, of course, is the people in that town run for city council. Who in their right mind in that town is going to vote for those council members or that mayor again? I fully understand that, unfortunately, that's going to take time probably, because I don't know how their elections work there. I don't know who's up for re-election or not, and whatever. But who in their right mind in that town now is going to vote for any of them? No one. Which means your first move when you become a city council member there is you get rid of the Browns. You get rid of the Haitians, the illegals I'm referring to. Get rid of them. Immediately. Tell your police chief to get rid of them, and then look at your police chief and say, if you don't get rid of them, you're fired. Because city councils hold a police chief's contract in their bare hands. Fire them then. And then say, we're looking for a new police chief. We just fired this guy because he wouldn't do the one thing our town wants. And I don't even think you have to be a cop to be a police chief, do you? Maybe you do. I know you don't have to be a cop to be a sheriff. I'm just thinking out loud here. But people in that town are fully awake, but you're not awake if you're sitting in a room listening to Vivek Ramaswamy tell you again about his upcoming book and his upcoming show on Fox News. That's not going to solve anything. So get organized and get after it. Now, again, I know a lot of people are aware of this, but I just want to read this. Again, this was on the Chan boards bouncing around a couple of days ago, and this has to do with their city commissioner and what he owns. It says the following here, quote, City Commissioner Rob Rue owns Littleton and Rue Incorporated. Littleton and Rue Incorporated owns Littleton Properties of Springfield, LLC, which owns many rental properties in Springfield, Ohio. Mayor Rob Rue is evicting residents of Springfield, Ohio, and then bringing Haitian illegal migrants to the tune of a third of the city's population to rent out his properties to Haitians using housing vouchers, which are paid for by the federal government. He then raises the rent $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000 a month, and the government gibs goes straight to his bank account. Rob Rue then takes the properties which he purchased for hundreds of thousands of dollars and then has them appraised. Then there's a top left pick related for significantly lower than he purchased them for to avoid having to pay property taxes. This is the story they didn't want you to find out about. It says at the bottom here, Rob Rue also petitioned the federal government for more federal aid due to a housing crisis. What he didn't say was that he was going to benefit to the tune of millions of dollars in the process, unquote. Some lawyer and prosecutor has to see that. Someone has to see that and know that that's illegal And then that good person has to do something to a bad person. They have to hold them accountable legally, and they have to send them to jail after, of course, being convicted in a court of their peers. But that has to happen. If people don't take that next step to do such things, we have a serious problem. Again, how much more are Americans going to be able to take here? I'm not sure, but that's a sad state of affairs. Okay, education stuff. Let me mention this now. Again, we're keeping the brainwashing theme going here, so my apologies. But first of all, I'm not going to speak a ton about this, but I will make mention of a few things that have transpired here this past week. Again, if you haven't read the Substack article, I highly recommend it. You'll get a good taste as to what I've been doing sort of behind the scenes here, although some of the things that are in that particular Substack are things that I have mentioned here on the show before in the past, certainly when they were happening. But I released that, of course, for the local public, to wake them up. That was the point, and it's working. And of course, I'm going after the school board and these abuse apologists, I'll call them. They are child abuse apologists. And it's disgusting. And these people, again, have to be held accountable, and they will. So let me just mention a few things here off the top, because in the last board meeting on Thursday night, they decided to reference me and this show, although not by name. Kind of wish they would have, because I think people already understand that I'm a citizen here and I have a show and I hold these people accountable. Of course, they're only a fraction of the things that I discuss here on the show, but even so, let me do my best to summarize the actual school board meeting, because it was, again, one of the worst I have ever seen. And these people are so stupid that they quite literally fall into the same trap over and over and over again. Just like I said earlier. I mean, you give these individuals an inch and they'll hang themselves with it. It's astounding. They cannot stay quiet. They just can't. And they think that they can talk their way out of what they've done. And they can't. And then, a part of that same trap that has been set that they fall for every time, you even have members of the public come up to the microphone during the public comments section, and they actually defend these child abuse apologists while probably not even having the full story or a comprehension of the entire story. And yet now, they're on record as defending child abuse apologists. It's amazing. So again, I would encourage anyone locally to pay attention to who those people are. Pay attention to them, know their names, and know that they are foolish. It's astounding to me. So let me make a couple of things straight here. First of all, one of their stupid board members, Pat Mead, decided to, again, just basically rail on me and rail about me, and he was taking quotes out of the local newspaper about me, and he was saying a number of things that, of course, I said on the show. Here's the funny part about the left. They don't have a sense of humor, and we know this. This is why they can't meme. They can't even spell meme, let alone make one. With that said, he was basically saying that I was encouraging the now resigned board member to kill himself. Nope, I didn't suggest he kill himself. In fact, I don't want that to happen at all. I don't want anybody to kill themselves. It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem, although they have, again, very permanent problems that they are refusing to acknowledge because this is their makeup. I mean, you're talking about child abuse apologists who were probably abused when they were younger, or had people justify either abuse that happened to them or abuse that they inflicted on others. Again, these are personality traits. These are products of their environments when they are children and when they are young, and their brains are starting to form. You've heard me say before, it's exactly why I wonder why people become school board members, or want to become building administrators, or want to become superintendents. It's not really ethics they're interested in, it's money. It's money and control and favoritism and the appearance of being in control, the appearance of authority. It's the appearance of being an intellectual, so to speak. That's why, again, to basically steal the phrase passing the trash, that's exactly why these elected officials at the local level, you'll see them run for multiple forms of office. They'll hold office in one area and then they'll run over and try to run for office in another. We have a gal in this town who's been on city council. She's dumber than a bag of forks. But at the exact same time, she's now trying to run for county commissioner again. She got crushed the last time. But I'm sure she'll be more successful this time. Give me a break. She's a lunatic. I mean, again, it's indicative of these kinds of people who want these kinds of positions. I want to ask them if they're feeling okay. But every now and again, you get someone on one of these boards or one of these councils who flips the table and asks questions and wants to hold people accountable. And that exists on the school board. Again, there was a member of the school board by the name of Dawn King. We went to the same school, that school. She graduated with my brother. She's one amazing human being. And this, of course, is a business that does not like people asking questions. I've watched secretaries lose their jobs because they ask a principal a question in a meeting. I've watched that happen. It's pathetic, but this is how afraid they are of people asking questions. So no, I don't want anybody to kill themselves. This is, again, why they don't understand when somebody is being facetious. It's a joke. I'm kidding. I'm saying that things are going to get so bad for them that they wish that they might, but I'm not saying they do it. In fact, I don't even recommend that they resign. I want them to stay right where they are, and this is not reverse psychology. I want the board members in the town where I live to stay right where they are, because I want to see their stupid faces when the walls keep closing in on them. Because every time they try to squirm out of it, every time they try to say something, well, I've got some comments I'd like to make. Excellent. Excellent. Please keep talking. Please keep talking. All you're doing is waking people up to what you've done. And we know what you've done. That's why lawyers are involved. That's why you're being sued. That's why there's federal investigations. Hello? Title IX investigations. Hello? You would think, again, as I say in the Substack article, you would think that their legal counsel would tell them to shut the fuck up, but they don't. They just keep talking. It's amazing. I love it. They completely embarrass themselves in the last board meeting. He even read and was making statements in one of the previous episodes where I was going after them and also going after the now resigned board member. But one of the current board members who's still on the board, I mean, he actually mentioned the part of one of my shows where I said, when this is all said and done, these people are going to be waiting tables at a gay bar. He actually said that in the board meeting. Like it was offensive. It's not offensive. You're child abuse apologists. The oxygen in your lungs is offensive. The fact that these people hold these positions, I mean, that's the offensive part. And of course, in their zeal and their hubris to protect the son of a board member, a now resigned board member, who is remarkably violent in more ways than you can possibly imagine, they're actually throwing every parent who has an abused child at the hands of this minor under the bus. They just spit in all of their faces. And in the middle of this meeting, certainly during the public comment section, the co-president of the union of the Teachers Association walked up to the stage and handed the treasurer a check, an actual monetary donation. So they, I don't know, solicited money from their members or whomever or themselves that they had just sitting away, and as a co-president of a union handed them a check because the board says that it costs them money to do open records requests and they're having to do a lot of them, and so it's costing them more time and more money. Bullshit. You're doing open records requests because that's part of your job. You're already getting paid. You don't need a monetary donation. But see, that's what these weirdos do. They're do-gooders. And they're communists. They're full-blown communists. So the union stepped in the trap, and they fell for it. They stepped right in the trap. It was, I don't even have the words. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. In one fell swoop, the co-president of the teachers union just told the entire town that they are in bed with the school board, which means anytime there's any kind of faux conflict or anytime there's any manufactured crises that they seem like they're engaging in, like we're standing up for teachers and we care about them, but we have to work with the school board and negotiate particular things and blah, blah, blah. Ladies and gentlemen, they're giving each other tug jobs on a constant basis. They always do. That's the business. It's the illusion of picking sides. They're on the same side. They're two heads of the same snake, teachers' unions and school boards and superintendents. They work together all the time. But now, the teachers' union, again, just stepped in it. They are now child abuse apologists. Which means if you're a school teacher with a conscience and you're paying into a union, you need to stop that. You need to save your money. Take that money that's being stolen from you out of a paycheck on a paycheck by paycheck basis and put it into a separate savings account. And if you need a lawyer in the future, well, you've got a little backup plan because the union isn't going to give you any help because they never do. They rob people. They steal from them under the illusion of security. This is the business. This is what happens. The teachers in that district and in the district where I live, they should all unenroll and cease to be members of the union in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye. But they won't, because they're brainwashed. They're brainwashed into believing that they need this slavery. And that's again, Jesus, it's a sad state of affairs when that's the case. When you're so brainwashed that you don't mind being abused on a constant basis, so much so that you even ask for more. Thank you, sir, may I have another? That's awful. What a horrible place to be. Now let me mention a few other things that happened in that board meeting. Again, kind of like I alluded to earlier, there were people, again, who openly came up to the microphone and showed their support for the outgoing school board member who resigned with a year left in his term. When they find out what he's done, I don't think they're going to be supporting him much anymore. And by the way, it's not just him as an outgoing school board member who knew what was going on. It was the entire board and the superintendent. They all knew what was taking place with his particular kid. And then, of course, like I said earlier, they put on their do-gooder hat and their leftist, whatever it is, rationalization. And they basically say, this guy with a podcast is coming after a 14-year-old kid. He's coming after a 14-year-old kid. No, I'm not. I'm not coming after him. He's a problem. There's no doubt about that. He should have been expelled. I'm coming after the adults in the room, of which there are apparently none. There were endless things that board could have done regarding the son of a school board member who is remarkably violent, specifically toward females, including threatening to kill them and physically assaulting them, and other things of which I am well aware of, which are heinous. They should have looked at the board member and said, your son's a problem. Unenroll him or don't run for school board, because if you do, that's going to look bad. But these people aren't bright. They think that they can insulate themselves with one another. Don't worry, your son will be safe here because now you're on the board. That's unethical. That's against the law. These people, they can't spell favoritism. They can't spell nepotism. They don't even know what they mean. I'm telling you, there's a screw loose here. Yes, they're jabbed. Yes, they're not thinking. It's prion disease. You can use all the excuses, I suppose, from a medical standpoint. But at the exact same time, they are criminally minded. So much so, again, that in their hubris and their zeal to be known as the best humans and stand up for a child, they actually dug themselves further. I love it. So, no, I don't want anybody to kill themselves. I don't even want you to resign. I want you to stay right there. We all want you to stay right where you are. Because we can see you. You have to talk publicly. We have to see your face and watch you embarrass yourselves on a constant basis, and it's so easy to do. Ladies and gentlemen, in the same meeting, they voted to give the treasurer and the superintendent a raise, to give them more money than they already have. They don't need a raise. They have a hard time making ends meet as it is. Now, they have money that they didn't tell the public about because they're liars, but even so, the audacity to do that they are, again, they're right about everything, and anybody who criticizes them is wrong. And then, of course, they were begging for me and others to stop making open records requests and begging us to leave them alone. I'm not kidding. They openly said this in the meeting. This all needs to stop. Something has to change, and you just need to quit, and this all needs to stop. You've never met me, apparently. That's not how it works. These do-gooders have gone a very long time being unchecked. And now they're being checked, and they don't like it. But that's because they're in Zootsfing. Every move they make, it makes things worse for them. Again, back to the check recipient thing from the teachers' union. They should have looked into the microphone. Well, you can't look into one, I guess, but say into a microphone, we're not going to accept any donation. Certainly not from the teachers' union, because that looks bad. But they didn't do that. They openly stuck their greasy little palm out and took it. I want to know what monetary amount is on that check. Was it $50? Was it blank? Was it just some political stunt? Was it a couple $100? A few $1,000s? Seems unnecessary. Because like I said earlier, it doesn't cost them money to do open records requests. What are they wasting their money on? Paper? Everything is sent electronically. These people are retarded. I mean, and the public just believes it. That when the school board looks at them and says, well, this is really tiresome for us, and, we're wasting a lot of time with all these open records requests, no one's asking what people are trying to obtain. No one's asking that question. What is it that you're hiding that people are trying to obtain? Albeit not that easy, as a matter of fact. Well, you can read mine in the Substack article. What they're trying to do is censor the public from being criticized as a school board, period. They claim it's to protect this kid, who's remarkably violent. That's not it. There's no protection there. It has nothing to do with it. This has to do with holding them accountable as a board, their superintendent accountable, and then, of course, their treasurer accountable. And they don't want people coming up to the microphone and letting them have it. Providing oversight. Again, they can't spell oversight. These are not bright people. They're lifers. It's sad. But it's easy. It's too easy. Taking them down is too easy. They just keep falling into it, and they will. This is their hubris. It blinds them. I love it. So keep it up. Keep it up. Okay. With that said, and there's more to come for them too, by the way. I mean, the walls are closing in at a rather quick rate. So they don't even seem to understand that a day is going to come when they aren't there anymore. Either their term is up and they never run again, or somebody gets fired, or someone gets investigated again, and all of this happens. I mean, a time will come when they're no longer there. Which should be a reminder to the town, you'd better put the right people in next time, because look what happens when you don't. And you don't have to be in the business of education to run for these positions. You can be a bag of sand and sit on a school board, as long as you're a morally sound bag of sand. That's all. Follow the law. It's not tough. There's also this. Sorry, I'm more digression here. One last thing. And I'm sick and tired of hearing this because, again, it proves how dumb these people are. One of these school board members seems to think that the education of children is their responsibility as a school board member. Again, they quite specifically say that and said it. Again, our job is to engage in having these kids, as they call them, have a quality education, that's our job as a school board. No, it isn't. That's not your job. That's the job of parents, number one. Number two, if they're foolish enough to send their children to teachers, then that's their job as teachers. It's the job of the teachers to provide a well-rounded education. And the parents, first and foremost. But the problem here is that you have these individuals, and they're not alone, this is nationwide. They flat out don't understand that their only job has to do with money. It's the approval and non-approval of things that will cost them money. That's it. They have to do that, balance the budget, stay in the black, and then, of course, they have to follow the law. And that's the hardest part for them. So they're not good with money. They're not good with reading. They're not good with following the law. They don't know what they're doing, which means they don't belong there. So again, what's the solution to that? You either pull your children out and stop participating in this ridiculous game, or you run in their place. It's that simple. That's all that has to happen. You take over their positions when their time is up, and then you start firing people. And you find out who the bad actors are, and you start firing them. You take a wrecking ball to the entire district office. I've mentioned this before. One person at a time, one corrupt do-gooder at a time, right down the line. And you don't even have to tell them that you're firing them. You just do it right then and there in a board meeting. Fire your lawyer, too, because the lawyer's been involved. But again, if people don't do this, then, they're going to have horrible things continue to happen to them. I just love how everybody keeps falling into the trap. It's amazing. And again, people not being able to keep their mouths closed. You would think that you wouldn't want to walk up to a microphone in the first board meeting after a board member has resigned for reasons of which you just either blindly believe or have no idea about, and then you blindly support him. One girl got up there and she was hardly wearing even any clothes. I mean, it was really odd. So even again, from a professionalism standpoint, if you're going to speak publicly on YouTube, put some pants on. Put some clothes on. It's embarrassing. So yeah, stay tuned. There's going to be at least another Substack in the near future having to do with them again. More information keeps coming out because, again, more people keep stepping in it. It's amazing. Okay. Speaking of brainwashing, however, get a load of this. And you talk about parental brainwashing. This is out of New Hampshire. The Bow and Dunbarton, New Hampshire school districts. Now, this was on Libs of TikTok. Okay, and I'm not a huge fan of hers because she doesn't take it one step further with any analysis of any kind, and it doesn't even require any analysis. But allow me to read this first, or at least I'll describe it, and then I'll read this particular memo that went out to a parent. Apparently, there was a sporting event taking place, soccer game, female soccer game, and I guess either on the opposing team or something along those lines, there was an individual who is a man pretending to be a woman. So he should be institutionalized. That's number one. There was a time when we used to do that, and we need to make mental institutions great again. Am I right? Anyway, with that said, there was a man pretending to be a woman on the girls' soccer team that they were apparently playing. The parents all didn't like this. Now, again, they're do-gooders. These parents are amazing. Instead of taking your energy, going home, and looking up home learning and homeschooling options for your child, like abeka.com, also on YouTube, not that difficult to look up, abeka.com, and others, of course, there are many. But instead of doing that, They all organized together to wear pink bracelets, like sweatband bracelets, on their wrists with two X's on them, XX chromosome, to signify that, I assume. And all the parents got together and they were going to basically wear these bands around their wrists during the actual soccer game. What a waste of time. Just pull your kid off the field, forfeit the game, let the weirdos get on the bus and go back home, and then you can go back home, and then the next game comes around and you play in that game. But what the school board did is they decided to apparently kick out at least one of these parents for wearing these bracelets. It says the following. This again is from the school board and the administrators, etc., etc. It says no trespass order, September 19th, 2024. From an Anthony Foote, or to Anthony Foote, rather. It says, Dear Mr. Foote, it says, I am writing to inform you that you are hereby prohibited from entering the buildings, grounds, and property of the Bow School District, including but not limited to all school administrative office buildings, parking lots, and athletic fields until further notice. You are also prohibited from attending any Bow School District athletic or extracurricular event on or off school grounds. It says the reason for this action is your conduct during the girls' varsity soccer game on Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. Specifically, prior to and during the soccer game, you brought and distributed pink armbands to parents and other attendees to protest the participation of a transgender female student on the other team. You participated and led the protest, which was designed to and had the effect of intimidating, threatening, harassing, and discouraging that student from playing, unquote. I don't know if it goes on, but there you have it. Again, who is the fool here? I mean, I understand the stance, but this is a parent, a dad, who's still going to send his daughter to that school. And that district. Why? Unenroll them, please. I want people to get brighter. And they have no idea how bright they'll be when they're away from these brainwashing institutions. They don't have a clue. The veil is on, the blinders are on, their head is down in the sand. It can't get any more graphic or any worse. But to go to the effort to actually make up these bracelets and hand them out. So all the parents did a thing, and they protested a whack job who belongs in a mental institution. And then, of course, being the mental institution apologists and transgender apologists that they are, the school district does exactly what they do in lockstep, and they kick the dad out for life, basically, until further notice. What are you doing? Leave the environments. They're for the mentally ill. It can't get more obvious, and it isn't going to improve. These won't improve. This mental illness is written into law. It's government-controlled mental illness and brainwashing and torture by government. It was created this way, to drown the thinking out of human beings, so much so now that the thinking isn't even taking place with the vast majority of the parents who send their children to these environments. So, I don't know what else to say. It's pathetic. But did libs of TikTok say anything that I just said? Nope. This is an outrage. I can't believe they kicked this dad out. Okay. I can believe it. This is who they are. This is what they do. This isn't new. I'm shocked that the dad keeps going. I'm shocked that the dad probably sent his daughter to school and will on Monday morning. That's what shocks me. But there you have it. Let me mention this now. This, again, is a rather common story that I've brought up before, and it rears its ugly head yet again. But this is from Inside Higher Ed, and it was titled, again, you talk about race baiting, it's right here. Raising Up Black Male Teachers is what it's called. It says, among the obstacles black men face in their pursuit of higher education, a lack of representation or role models in their instructors is one of them. Programs to uplift and prepare black male teachers can help reverse this trend. No. In fact, you couldn't have a more bigoted approach to a non-existent problem. Again, it's this business is hilarious. It's a drawing of a picture of a hologram. I mean, that's how retarded these people are. They believe, as even the local school board and superintendent in the district where I live has openly stated, that if students look at someone who is their skin color, then they are more likely to learn and be successful, and their grades will go up. Therefore, their future in the workforce, so to speak, will be more successful, and they will be more successful as a result of staring at someone who happens to be their same race. Now again, if that's true, then why is it that white students fail when they're staring at nothing but white teachers? And scene. Just like that. That's how you blow that up. That's how that entire theory gets shot out of the sky in quite literally the blink of an eye. It's completely ridiculous. Totally implausible. Again, but it's almost like it's an admission that when whites look at white teachers, they succeed, but when blacks look at white teachers, they don't. See the bigotry of these do-gooders? It's absolutely amazing. It's amazing. They don't even hear themselves. This got published. This is published in Inside Higher Ed. It's a big publication for brainwashed education news. One of the barriers for black students in their educational pursuits is a lack of representation in the field, it says, according to a report. Quote, the scarcity of black male teachers means black boys may not view academic success as attainable or relevant to them, further discouraging their pursuit of higher education. You've got to be kidding. It says fewer than 2% of teachers nationwide are black men. This is like, oh wow. Well, we know why that's the case, but even so, this is just like the entire approach of STEM. That if we just throw girls into STEM, then girls will be better, and that's what we want. If we just have black students stare at black teachers, then they'll be more successful and more likely to enter higher education, in particular at the college level if they're staring at more black teachers. There are all black colleges and universities that exist that hire only black people to be the professors and instructors there. If that's the case, which it is, shouldn't they all just be academically succeeding more than other universities and institutions by default, based on this theory? Sure they should. Are they? No. Skin color doesn't think. It doesn't think. The integumentary system is incapable of thought. That comes from the central nervous system. But these people are retarded, and they don't know that. That's why they publish articles like this. It's absolutely amazing. They couldn't be hating on white people more. Hell, they're hating on Hispanic individuals, and they're hating on Asians as well. They're hating on any race outside of the one that apparently they're trying to promote. It's insulting to blacks, is it not? I mean, I would be insulted. There are individuals who are darker toned who listen to this show, and God bless all of them. They're learning. That's great. Just like everybody's learning, regardless of race. The fact is that's remarkably insulting. Because they're basically saying, you can't learn unless you're staring at someone who looks similar to you. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I don't get it. The race baiting is next level. Speaking of race baiting, check this out. Here's one. I think Cicely sent this my way. The CarolinaReviewOnline.org is the website. Get a load of this. This is by a Hunter Closty. This person thought this would be a good idea. This school district thought this would be a good idea. Again, when they get in a room and they start thinking, it's usually not a good idea. It says Chapel Hill, Carborough, I don't know, city schools, who cares? Anyway, it goes on. It says the Chapel Hill, Carborough City Schools, or City School District, is grappling with a $5 million budget deficit. That means you're broke. What'd you spend it on? All that DEI garbage? Probably. It says leading to cuts in staffing. Uh-oh, who are they going to cut? It says the district blames the deficit on less money coming in from the state via per pupil spending because of a decrease in enrollment. Why is that happening? Because people are waking up and they're leaving these brainwashing institutions. As well as, it says, inflationary pressures. Now, where have we heard all of these excuses? Well, more people are unenrolling and, inflation and cost of living's higher and we're getting less funding from the state and all these excuses that every school board makes. All they had to do was not participate in the largest money laundering operation that's ever occurred in the history of K-12 schools, and they'd probably be okay, but they didn't. They took that money, that ESSER cash, those CARES Act money. They bought new roofs, they bought AC units, they bought windows, and now they're broke. Because government is broke. Do they not know this? It has nothing to do with manufactured inflation. It has to do with the fact that you can't balance a budget. Sorry, I digress. They go on, and here's, of course, their proposed plan for spending reductions. If you think this is about getting rid of white people first, you would be correct. It says, because of this budgetary deficit, the school district has begun freezing jobs and cutting or reassigning over 60 employees. As part of this process, the school district released a detailed presentation to community members titled Proposed Plan for Spending Reduction. It says the following. It says, a part of this 21-page document, the district claims that it will use a, quote, racial equity decision-making protocol, unquote, as well as other factors as part of their tiered approach to reduce the district's workforce. According to the presentation, this protocol is given the same weight as the reduction of redundancy, performance, and seniority. It goes on because, again, they love putting their feet in their own mouths all of the time. It says documents show that the Board of Education was given training on the district, quote, racial equity decision-making protocol in October of 2022. The training modules instruct district officials to, quote, support and expand the engagement, leadership, and power of BIPOC, B-I-P-O-C, unquote. Furthermore, the district's strategic plan for 2022 through 2027 outlines the use of, quote, a racial equity impact assessment on major decisions. Allow me to translate. If you're white, they don't want you around. That's it. That's all it means. They're tired of you. And when it comes to budget cuts, they want to keep people who aren't white. I'm going to keep going with this story, even though you get the gist. But, yeah, it gets worse. It says the following. The training framework comes from Race Forward, a nonprofit group that works toward racial justice, quote unquote. The organization has been on record endorsing the Black Lives Matter movement and that money laundering scheme. Says this apparent plan, to take no consideration the race of employees contradicts the United States Department of Labor's stipulation that Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination in hiring, discharge, and all other aspects of employment on the basis of race. I love how individuals who happen to be darker toned believe that the Civil Rights Act only applies to them. It's absolutely hilarious. They actually think it was written for them. No, it was written for everybody. Whites too. Whoops-a-daisy. Sorry, you can't just use it for yourself. Did these people go to school? Do these people read books? Probably not. Certainly not this superintendent. Good God. It says, quote, Superintendent Dr. Naya Hamlet has come under scrutiny in the past for overseeing stagnant proficiency rates in reading and mathematics, allegedly plagiarizing her doctoral dissertation and seemingly allowing favoritism to influence her hiring practices as revealed by the Carolina Review. She's also been on record making controversial comments about race. She's a piece of trash. She's also, there's a picture of her here, a black woman wearing a mask on her face. There you go. Because that's good. What's the mask have on it? Hang on just a minute. I got to zoom in on this. Oh, nice. Okay. Her mask is the communist black power fist. Beautiful. And just like that, well, the cat's out of the bag. I mean, it already was, but my God. These people, they walk among us, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I don't know if you're with me on this, but I'm tired of living in this world filled with retards. I mean, it really is a problem. Let's see here. It goes on. It says in a blog post that has since been deleted from her website, she was dumb enough to have a blog. That's too bad. But preserved through internet archives, Hamlet wrote the following, quote, "As I tell my own children on a regular basis," somebody reproduced with her. Sorry to break that news. It says, "For people of color, everything is about race," unquote. Hamlet also wrote about racial relations in education, saying that, quote, "Educators of color have to trust the equity journey even if we cannot trace or trust the intentions of those who claim to be committed to the journey with us," unquote. This woman is a superintendent. She's a black woman as a superintendent in what appears to be, of course, North Carolina. I bet she makes copious amounts of money. Where's the inequity? Where's the discrimination? I'm tired of these do-gooders, I'm telling you. It's exhausting. Unfortunately, she continued to talk. It says Hamlin has also published photographs of herself on social media wearing Black Lives Matter styled attire in her office in what appears to be a school campus. Black Lives Matter publicly supports the abolition of police and prison under the guise of racial equity, as well as other left-wing policies. There you go. Good for this author. They're calling it out like it is. It wraps up. It says, how exactly the district will implement their layoff scheme remains to be seen, as the process is set to finish at the end of the district's fiscal year in June of 2025. The review reached out to the Chief Communications Officer, Andy Jenks of Chapel Hill, City Schools. It says he did not respond to our request for comment. Shocking. Here's the solution. A class action lawsuit. Every single white teacher or individual who is not black should sue this woman into the ground. Sue the entire school district and the superintendent. All of them. That's one way to do it. And if you all pool your money and your energy together, not using the union, and you go after these people, well, they'll be gone. But this is a class action lawsuit. But it won't be if they rely on the union. If they rely on the union will meet with the school board, and they will basically again say, well, let's see if we can't come to some kind of an agreement here, because a lot of our teachers are upset and we can't have that. Again, what a waste of time. Amazing. And a waste of money. These people, again, they hold these positions. They make copious amounts of money. And they apparently can't read nor tie their own shoes when it comes to, again, basic civil rights laws. No one in that entire district said, you know what, this is a bad idea. We don't need a presentation like this when it comes to not hiring whites and not keeping whites around. That we're going to start eliminating people based on skin color and seniority and what have you. So if you're a little white girl, your chances of working in this district are officially gone. Only psychos would think that that's, and bigots would actually think that that's okay. It's nuts. Absolutely nuts. Speaking of nuts, Chicago Public Schools, why not? This is from the Gateway Pundit. My apologies for the reference. Chicago Public Schools teachers claim that they were instructed by administrators to give passing grades to migrant students. Again, in the next headline, water is wet, the sky is blue, and grass is green. Who is surprised by any of this? This happens all of the time. This isn't happening just now. This has happened for decades and decades and decades. I've had students in my class, when I taught school, fail the class. Now, you have to really try to fail a class in school. I mean, you have to work at it. And the major reason that students fail classes in school is because they don't turn in what they're supposed to turn in. That's it. And then they either receive an F, or they receive a 0, or they receive what have you. In fact, even that, when it comes to grade manipulation, has been something that has been manipulated over the years. And if you're a former or current school teacher, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There was a time when if you didn't turn something in, you got a 0%. 0 out of 100. This is not difficult to comprehend, but you'd be surprised how many students don't understand this. That if they don't do something, well, then you didn't do it. So it's a 0. This was happening so frequently in the business across the board that they immediately said, well, if they don't turn something in, don't give them a 0, give them a 50%, which is an F, which implies that they've done half, or they have mastered, or they know, or they guessed properly half of what the expectation was, even though they haven't turned anything in. Because if they're at a 50% instead of a 0%, they have a higher chance of succeeding, because a 50 and an 100 balances out to approximately a 75%, which is a C average. But clearly, if they have a 0% for one weighted assignment, and they get 100% on an equally weighted assignment, well, their average isn't a 75%, it's now a 50%. So they're starting off after 2 assignments with an F. This was happening too often. Again, no one manipulates assessments like the education business. Nobody. In fact, to prove this point, allow me to go back to the board meeting that happened this last Thursday in the town where I live. You've heard me say this before. And this woman, honest to God, she can hardly speak English, and she's an American, and she's white. But her grammar is just atrocious. She was giving a presentation on the state's STAR system regarding assessment for Ohio schools. They're graded on a STAR system like it's Mario Party. Like they've got this many coins, and now they have this many stars, and they're the winner. It's astounding. It's absolutely astounding. No school district should be assessed based on shapes. I mean, this is how wrong they are. Now, I understand that these shapes, these stars, out of, I believe it's 5, are directly affiliated, I would hope they are anyway, with some numeric value. So if they have 4.5, well, then that means that, I don't know, they achieved something. This school district's star rating is actually not good, even though they're painting it as good. It's just designed to make things look better than they actually are. And people believe this. I mean, they buy into it. Thank God for this system. It's fair and it's equitable and it's just so even-handed. We absolutely love it. And clearly we're achieving because, yes, we have 3 out of 5 stars on some of these things, but don't pay attention to that. We have 4.5 over here and we're doing just fine. It's beyond embarrassing. Again, you talk about the dumbing down of this system, which of course is a title of a book, The Dumbing Down of America. This right here is a prime example. The fact that people believe this, and they look at it and they go, yep, that makes sense. And then they get paid to give presentations on how they think this makes sense. It has to collapse. I've said it a million times. This entire thing has to collapse. There's no other way out of it. There's no way. Okay. Let me see. 2 more education stories, and these are doozies. These were sent to me by 2 listeners of the show, and thank you for sending them. This first one is a Facebook post from a father in New York. And you know what this is about as soon as I start reading it, but I'm going to read it, and here's what it says. It says the following, quote, "Wondering if anyone is aware or has any information on the new public policy at Columbia High School. This is what my child is informing me, and I want to know if it's all facts." There are 6 bullet points here. It says, number 1, students have to log into Google Classroom and request a bathroom pass. regardless if they are using Google Class at the time. And then he says true or false. Number 2, they have to search a list of all the bathrooms to find the closest one to them. True or false? Number 3, they have to wait for it to be approved. Took 3 minutes for my child. True or false? Number 4, once approved, it sets a timer and tracks their time. True or false? Number 5, they have to check back in when they return to class. True or false? And number 6, if they are not back within the time frame, less than 7 minutes, they come to find you. True or false? He goes on and says, if this is all true, it concerns me. Most kids can't wait that long, don't already like to go to the bathroom, and don't abuse the system. Seems like it can cause more health issues than help with the small percentage of kids that take advantage of an actual bathroom pass. He went on and said, also seems like it caused more of an interruption on learning. You think? I would doubt there's learning taking place, in particular when something like this exists, but... And then he finished up and says, I have not received any information on this from the school. Perhaps I missed it. Any assistance would be appreciated, unquote. And apparently in the comments section, they answered true to all of those things, because this sounds like the SmartPass system. This is what this is. It's digital ID, it's digital tracking, it's getting students used to that. And they think that it's some kind of a deterrent from keeping students from, spending too much time in the bathroom or doing something illegal potentially or what have you. If a student is going to do something illegal, they're just going to do it. They don't give a damn if they're being tracked or traced. This is the mind frame of these people. They think that if they implement technology in place of common sense, then technology will trump common sense every single time. How sorely mistaken they are. Here's the last one, and this one is an abomination also. This was also a former guest on the show who remained anonymous at the time, and they sent me this website, and they said that 2 individuals that they know started this, and either one or both of them are school teachers. The website is called Factivation. Factivation.com. Factivation. And as you scroll down, because it says here, true math fact, mastery is more than memorization. It says our high-quality math facts instruction quickly builds fluency because it's rooted in understanding. We are ready to help teachers ensure true math fact mastery. It's time to get factivated. Yes, that's right. And they say it multiple times in the website. Let's get your students fully factivated. Nice subliminal messaging regarding vaccines. Let's get them all vaccinated. Good God. Factivation, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope your child is fully factivated. Here's the hitch with this. The individual who sent me this said that both of these individuals are multiple times jabbed and have at least 2 or 3 chronic autoimmune conditions. I wonder what from. The irony here is it's overwhelming. Excuse me. It's overwhelming. They're clearly factivated to the bone. Well, they might want to listen to this because there is this which needs to be brought up. I'm going to link this in the description below. Feel free and send this to anybody who you know might be jabbed and may be ill. This might help. This was on Dr. Anna Maria Mihalcha's Substack page. It was titled, Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 Bioweapon Mixed with EDTA, Vitamin C, Day 6, shows no nanotechnology. Mixing the solutions shows deactivation of nanobots immediately in dental anesthetics and COVID-19 shots. That's the title. Now, you've heard of EDTA on this show, believe it or not, in the past, with, I believe, Terry Fail, if I'm saying her name correctly. My apologies, Terry, if you still listen. thanks for the EDTA information, but she was the one who brought EDTA to my attention. And this article right here, again, I have no reason to doubt Dr. Anna here, but yeah, this is good news. Better news, certainly. And there you have it. So there are EDTA protocols that do exist. I would venture to guess that it's certainly in here. She also links other articles having to do, again, with EDTA and tobacco and high doses of vitamin C and a number of other things. So again, I will link this article in the description below. I highly recommend sharing it around and taking a deeper look into it. And there you go. Help seems to be around the corner here, which is good. And God bless these people who continue to look for cures for these bioweapon shots. Yeah, it's just a matter of course, not offending the jabbed when you send them something like this because, well, they might not receive it very nicely. Anyway, with that said, it will be linked in the description below. Thanks for listening as always, and I'll catch you on Wednesday. Peace. Thank you for listening to American Education FM. Make sure and check out AmericanEducationFM.com for more information. Take care and God bless.